20 days had passed since Carly Hunt became a captive aboard the Viridian vessel. Her fear had gradually transformed into curiosity, and then into something else, something she was reluctant to name even in her thoughts. The nightly visits from Kalish had become the center of her existence the moment she lived for in this strange alien environment. Kalish had explained that the Viridian ship was traveling toward what she called a gathering place, a massive space station where representatives of many species met to exchange knowledge and resources. There, the Viridian Council would decide the official approach to human contact. Based on their study of Carly and her crewmates, during their latest visit, Carly gathered her courage to ask the question that had been haunting her. Where are my crewmates? Are they safe? Can I see them? Kalish shifted to a solemn blue, a color Carly had come to associate with serious thoughts. They study your people as we study all new species, she said. We mean no harm. Different guards, different connections. She would not elaborate further, but her skin darkened slightly, suggesting discomfort, or perhaps guilt. Are they treated well? Carly pressed. All subjects valued. Kalish said. All needs met. All. Learning important, but they are still prisoners like me. Kalish's gill structures fluttered a sign of agitation. Carly had learned, not prisoners protected, studied for understanding. For good meeting later, Carly wasn't satisfied with that answer, but she could tell she would get nothing more from Kalish on this topic, so she changed the subject. Tell me about your world, she asked. Kalish's skin brightened immediately, shifting to that scholarly blue she displayed when sharing knowledge. Viridian. Home beautiful. 3 moons, many oceans. Different from Earth. More oxygen. Less gravity. She activated a small projector she had brought, showing Carly images of a world with purple-tinged skies and vast, shimmering oceans. Massive cities rose from the waters, their structures organic, looking as if they had grown rather than been built. The cities float? Carly asked, amazed. Yes, Kalish confirmed. Move with tides. Follow sun harvest energy. The images shifted, showing Viridians of different sizes and color patterns living in these floating cities. Some appeared to be swimming in the deep waters, others tending to what looked like underwater gardens. Your people evolved from aquatic life. Carly guessed. Kalish made the affirmative gesture. Part water, part land. Long ago, only water, she explained. Our ancestors left oceans, built mines, built technology. Now we go to stars, but always return to water. It was fascinating. Carly thought how, despite their alien nature, there were parallels to Earth's evolution. Life beginning in the oceans, eventually moving to land, developing intelligence and technology. The paths were different, but the pattern seemed universal. As they talked, Carly noticed that Kalish sat closer to her than usual, their arms occasionally brushing. When this happened, Kalish's skin would flash briefly with that rose gold color that Carly had come to recognize as something special, something Kalish displayed only with her. Have you studied many humans before me? Carly asked. No, Kalish, replied. First direct study, long observation before, but from distance. So I'm your first human. Carly smiled. Yes, Kalish confirmed. And I am your first Viridian. First alien, actually. Carly said, you are the first non-human intelligence I've ever encountered. This seemed to please Kalish, her skin glowing more intensely. We are first for each other. She said the words carrying a weight that seemed significant. That night, Kalish stayed longer than ever before. They talked about their respective worlds, their customs, their beliefs. Kalish explained that Viridians believed all life was connected, part of a greater cosmic consciousness. They did not understand why humans would expect hostility from those they had yet to meet, why Earth's fiction was filled with stories of alien invasions and wars among the stars. Carly tried to explain humanity's history of conflict, its tendency to project its own aggressive tendencies onto the unknown. But she also spoke of human capacity for compassion, for wonder, for growth. She told Kalish about art and music, about poetry and dance. Humans create beauty from pain. Kalish observed her head tilted in that curious way. Viridians find harmony, avoid discord. Different paths. Different but perhaps leading to the same place Carly suggested. As Kailash prepared to leave, she hesitated by the door. Something changed in my study, she said, her voice softer than usual. What do you mean? Carly asked. I was chosen to study you because I specialize in understanding other beings, Kailash explained. But I have failed in my mission. How have you failed? Carly asked, confused. Because I no longer see you as subject for study. Kailash's skin flushed completely gold, a color Carly had never witnessed. I see you as Carly, a being. I wish to know not for my people but for myself. The admission hung in the air between them. Carly felt her heart race, understanding the significance. Without thinking, she reached out and touched Kailash's face. The alien skin rippled with color at the contact, and she made a soft trilling sound that Carly somehow knew was pleasure. I feel the same, Carly whispered. Kailash pressed her hand against Carly's, keeping the connection between them. Connection between different worlds, she said. Different bodies. Same feeling after Kailash left. Carly couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing with the implications of what had just happened. She had developed feelings for an alien being, and that being seemed to return those feelings. It was unprecedented, unimaginable, and yet it had happened. The universe had brought them together across the vast distances of space and the even vaster differences of biology and evolution. The next night, Kailash arrived earlier than usual. Her skin was a turbulent mix of colors, suggesting strong emotions. She carried a small device Carly had never seen before. What is it? Carly asked. Kailash activated the device and a holographic display appeared, showing what appeared to be a schematic of the Viridian ship. We are here, she said, indicating a section near the center of the vessel. Your crewmates here, here, and here. She continued, pointing to various locations, some distance from each other. Why are you showing me this? Carly asked, though she felt a surge of hope rising. Within her Viridian Council divided, Kailash explained, her voice low as if afraid of being overheard. Some wish peace with humans, open contact, exchange of knowledge. She paused, her skin darkening. Others see threat in human history, human weapons, human expansion, and what will happen to me. To my crew study continues. 3 more cycles, then decision. Kailash said. But some council members wish more intensive study. She hesitated, then continued. Some methods not gentle. Carly felt a chill. Understanding dawned on her. Are you warning me? Kailash's skin rippled with affirmation. Ship travels to outpost. Soon 2 cycles. More Viridians come. More study. Other methods. They were going to be subjected to more invasive examination. Carly realized possibly even dissection or experimentation. But why was Kailash telling her this? I will help you escape. Kailash said, confirming Carly's unspoken question. Carly stared at her in shock. You would betray your people. Not betray, Kailash corrected. Help both peoples. First, contact should not be capture, should be choice. Understanding for humans. For Viridians, but you would be punished. Carly said. Perhaps Kailash acknowledged, her skin shifting to a resolute blue. But connection more important. Truth more important. Connection. Carly repeated the word that seemed to carry so much meaning between them. Yes, Kailash confirmed, placing her hand over Carly's heart connection here. She then placed Carly's hand against her own chest, where Carly could feel an alien heart beating, in an unfamiliar rhythm, and hear same. That night, Kailash explained her plan. There was a maintenance access near Carly's cell that was rarely monitored. Kailash had studied the guard rotations and knew when the corridors would be empty. She would come for Carly the next night and guide her through the ship to a bay of small transport vessels. One would be prepared to take Carly to a neutral trading post, where she could find passage back to human territory. But what about my crew? Carly asked. I can't leave them too many. Kailash said regretfully. Too difficult. But I give you this. She handed Carly the small device with the ship schematics. When safe, send to Earth. Leaders will know where to find others. Carly took the device. Her feelings conflicted. She couldn't bear the thought of abandoning her crewmates, but she also knew that if she could get back to Earth with information about the Viridians, it might be the only way to save them. "And what about you?" she asked, touching Kalish's face gently. "Will I ever see you again?" Kalish pressed something else into Carly's hand. It was a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. "This contains coordinates," she explained. "When your people ready for true contact, use this, it will signal me." Carly closed, her fingers around the crystal feeling its warmth. "I will come back for you," she promised. Kalish's skin shifted through rainbow colors in what Carly now recognized as profound emotion. "I will be waiting," she said. They spent the rest of the night finalizing their plan, Kalish explaining the layout of the ship, the security systems, the function of the transport vessel. When dawn approached, signaled by a gradual brightening of the cell, Kalish prepared to leave. Before she went, Carly stopped her. "Wait," she said. "There is a human custom I want to share with you." "What custom?" Kalish asked. "It is called a kiss." Carly said, "It is how we express deep connection." She stepped closer to Kalish and gently pulled the taller being's head down toward hers. There, lips met in a soft kiss. Kalish's skin glowed with brilliant light illuminating the cell. Carly felt a tingling sensation spread. Carly paced her cell, unable to calm her racing thoughts. Tonight was the night Kalish would come for her, and they would attempt their dangerous escape. She had memorized everything Kalish had told her about the ship layout, the guard rotations, the function of the transport vessel. But still fear and doubt gnawed at her. What if they were caught? What if the plan failed? What would happen to Kalish? The cell lighting began to dim, signaling the beginning of the night cycle. Carly sat on her sleeping platform and tried to slow her breathing. She closed her eyes and focused on the memory of Kalish, the connection they had formed, the promise of seeing Earth again. When the door slid open, Carly jumped to her feet. Kalish stood there, her skin a muted gray that Carly recognized as caution. The alien wore different attire than usual, a form-fitting suit with various devices attached to the belt. She beckoned to Carly without speaking. Now Carly whispered. Kalish nodded and stepped aside, allowing Carly to exit the cell. For the first time in over 20 days, Carly stepped into the corridor of the Viridian ship. The walls pulsed with the same blue energy as her cell, but the space was vast, curving gently in both directions. "Follow." Close, Kalish instructed, her voice barely audible. "Move as I move." They began their journey through the ship, Kalish moving with silent grace, Carly attempting to mimic her movements. They passed through corridors that widened into vast chambers filled with strange machinery. Carly caught glimpses of massive windows showing the starfield outside the view, occasionally obscured by parts of the ship itself. The scale of the vessel was even more impressive than she had imagined. Twice they had to hide, as other Viridians approached, once in a small maintenance alcove where they pressed together in the darkness, Carly's heart pounding so loudly she was certain it would give them away, and once behind, a shimmering energy field that Kalish manipulated, with one of her devices making them temporarily invisible to those passing by as they moved deeper into the ship. Carly began to hear a low humming sound that seemed to resonate through the structure itself. The engine, Kalish explained when Carly questioned her living energy source of power. "Living?" Carly asked, surprised. "Not alive like you and I," Kalish clarified, "but organic, grown, not built." The concept was fascinating, but there was no time to discuss it further. They had reached a junction, where 4 corridors met. Kalish checked a device on her wrist, then indicated they should take the leftmost path. This was not on the schematic Kalish had shown her. Carly realized. "Where are we going?" "The transport bay is the other way." "Change of plan," Kalish said. "Something I must show you." First, Carly hesitated, uncertain whether to trust this deviation, but the look in Kalish's eyes convinced her. There was urgency there, but also determination. She nodded and followed. The new corridor led them to a section of the ship that appeared older somehow. The walls here were textured differently, the blue glow more subdued. They approached a massive door unlike any Carly had seen on the vessel so far. Intricate patterns were carved into its surface, symbols and images that seemed to tell a story. Kalish placed her hand on a panel beside the door, and it slid open silently, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Carly gasped at what she saw. The room was circular with a domed ceiling that appeared to be made of some transparent material, showing the stars above. Inside the chamber were dozens of containment units. Each one held a different life form suspended in a glowing liquid. Some were recognizably similar to Earth creatures, others were so alien. Carly could not begin to comprehend their form. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice hushed. "Archive of life." Kalish explained. "Samples from worlds we visit, preserved, studied. Are they alive? Some sleep." Kalish said. "Some only tissue, some extinct. Species preserved." Carly moved closer to one of the containers. It held what appeared to be a large feline creature with 6 legs and a scaled tail. Something about its features reminded her of Earth's big cats, though the differences were significant. "Preserved. From world that died," Kalish said, standing beside her. "Star exploded. Viridians rescued what they could as they moved through the chamber." Carly began to understand. This wasn't just a collection. It was a conservation project. The Viridians were preserving species from across the galaxy, many from worlds that no longer existed. Then she saw something that made her blood run cold. In one section of the room, there were several containers holding what were unmistakably human tissues and organs labeled and preserved like specimens. Carly turned to Kalish in horror. "You take parts of us." Kalish's skin darkened in what Carly now recognized as shame. "Not from your crew," she said quickly. "From before long ago. First observations, tissue samples only. No living, humans harmed." She gestured to a display panel beside the containers. The date shown there was over 50 Earth years in the past. They had been watching Earth for decades. Carly realized the implications were staggering. "Why show me this?" she asked. "You understand," Kalish said. "Some Viridians see humans as specimens only, study objects, not equal beings." She moved to a control panel and began manipulating the symbols. "This information you take to Earth. Show truth. Prepare your people, a data crystal." Emerged from the panel, Kalish took it and handed it to Carly. "All records of Viridian observations of Earth," she explained. 50 cycles of study council does not know. I give this. All knowledge. All plans." Carly understood now why Kalish had taken this risk. This wasn't just about their connection or Carly's freedom. This was about changing the future of human-Viridian relations, giving humanity the knowledge to approach first contact on more equal terms. "Thank you," she said, tucking the crystal securely into her pocket along with the communication device Kalish had given her earlier. They left the archive chamber and continued their journey through the ship, moving more quickly. Now time was running short. Kalish explained that the guard rotation would change soon. They needed to reach the transport bay before then. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with another Viridian. This one was clearly a warrior, its body massive compared to Kalish. Its skin a harsh red pattern. Carly froze in terror. The warrior spoke in the musical Viridian language, its tone questioning. Kalish responded, her own skin shifting to an authoritative purple. She gestured toward Carly and said something that made the warrior step back. "What did you tell it?" Carly whispered when they had passed. "That you are special research subject." Kalish replied, "Being transferred to detailed study." Not entirely false. They reached another large chamber. This one contained what appeared to be living quarters for the Viridians. Several of the aliens moved about, engaged in various activities. None paid them much attention as Kalish led Carly along the perimeter of the room. Carly was fascinated despite their precarious situation. The Viridians interacted with each other through complex color patterns, their skins shifting and pulsing in what was clearly a form of communication. 2 younger-looking Viridians, possibly children, were engaged in what appeared to be a game involving small floating objects. "They seem so normal," Carly said. "So much like us in some ways. All intelligent life shares patterns," Kalish replied. community learning play connection. These things universal. They passed through the living quarters and entered another corridor. This one sloped downward. Kalish explained they were heading toward the outer ring of the ship where the smaller vessels were docked. As they descended, Carly felt a change in the gravity approach to Bay. Kalish explained, different gravity field. Prepares for separation. The corridor widened into a massive hangar. Bay dozens of small vessels were docked in individual berths. Their designs varied, some clearly built for speed, others for carrying cargo. Viridian workers moved among them, performing maintenance and preparations. Kalish led Carly to a small vessel near the far end of the bay. This one, she said, it is prepared. The ship was sleek, its surface, the same iridescent material as the Viridian skin. It was roughly triangular with smooth curves and no visible engines or propulsion system. Kalish placed her hand on the hull and a door appeared opening silently. Inside the craft was a single chamber, with what appeared to be a control console and a sleeping area. The interior walls pulsed with that same blue energy Carly had become accustomed to. Simple to operate, Kalish explained, moving to the console. Just think direction, speed, vessel responds to thought. Neural interface. Carly looked doubtful. I don't know if a human can operate Viridian. Technology. Kalish removed a small device from her belt and attached it to the console. This will help, she said. Translation of thought, ship will understand. She quickly showed Carly the basics: how to activate the ship's systems, how to set coordinates, how to engage the stealth field that would hide the vessel from sensors, how to put the ship into hibernation mode if the journey became too long. The vessel is programmed to reach trading outpost here, Kalish said, showing Carly a star map. Many species gather there. Humans have visited before. You will help find passage home. How long will the journey take? Carly asked. 2 cycles in this vessel. Kalish replied. Food, water, all provided. She pointed to a compartment built into the wall. Carly looked at the small ship that would be her home for the next 2 days. Then she looked at Kalish, realizing that this was goodbye. At least for now. The thought made her heart ache. Come with me, she said suddenly. We could both go to Earth. I would protect you. Kalish's skin shifted to a sad blue shade. Cannot, she said. Must return. Must prepare my people for true contact. Must help your crew. The dim blue glow of the cell walls cast eerie shadows across Carly Hunt's face as she sat on the edge of her sleeping platform. Her muscles ached from the initial struggle during her capture 3 days ago. She was the only surviving crew member of the exploration vessel Star Voyager. At least the only one she knew. About the others had been taken to different sections of this massive alien ship. Carly ran her fingers through her tangled blonde hair and stared at the strange symbols that crawled across the ceiling in patterns she could not decipher. Sometimes they moved faster, sometimes slower, but they never stopped. It was like watching an alien language flow like water above her head. The Star Voyager had been on a routine exploration mission near the Omega Nebula when their sensors detected an enormous object moving toward them at impossible speeds. Before they could even attempt contact, the alien vessel had engulfed their ship completely with some kind of energy field. Their systems failed, communications went dead, and strange tall beings with shimmering skin appeared on their bridge. The aliens called themselves Viridians. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender bodies and skin that rippled with colors like living opals. Their faces were almost human, except for large almond-shaped eyes that changed color with their moods and delicate gill, like structures along their necks. The warrior class. Viridians who had boarded their ship were stronger than 3 humans. Combined, Carly had watched in horror as her crewmates were taken down with ease. Now on her 3rd day of captivity, Carly had established a routine. She would exercise in the morning to keep her strength up, though there was no real day or night in the cell. The lighting would dim at regular intervals, suggesting a cycle. She would then examine every inch of her cell, looking for weaknesses or anything she might use to escape. So far, she had found nothing. The food they provided appeared twice. Daily small gelatinous cubes that tasted like nothing she recognized but seemed to provide all the nutrition she needed. Water came from a small fountain that appeared in the wall when she approached it. Everything about the cell seemed designed to keep her alive but isolated. On this night, the fourth since her capture, Carly sat cross-legged on the floor trying to meditate to calm her racing thoughts when she heard a sound she hadn't heard before. The seamless door to her cell, which had no visible handle or control panel, slid open silently. A figure stood in the entranceway. It was a female Viridian taller than any Carly had seen before. Her skin shimmered with patches of violet and blue, and her eyes were a deep amber color. Unlike the warrior Viridians, this one wore flowing robes rather than the metallic armor Carly had seen during the attack. The alien entered the cell and the door closed behind her. She carried nothing and made no threatening moves. She simply stood there, watching Carly with those large, unblinking eyes. Carly slowly stood up, straightening her back to appear taller, though she still only came up to the alien's shoulders. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice steady, despite her fear. The alien tilted her head slightly and her skin rippled with new patterns of color. A soft sound emerged from her throat, musical and complex. "I don't understand," Carly said. The alien seemed to consider this, then pointed to herself. A series of musical tones followed, but among them Carly could make out something that sounded like Kalish. "Is that your name?" "Kalish," Carly asked, pointing at the alien. The Viridian nodded, her skin flashing a bright yellow briefly. She then pointed at Carly with a long, slender finger. "Carly." "Hunt," Carly said, pointing to herself. Kalish repeated the name, though it sounded different in her musical voice. She then moved to sit on the floor, her long limbs folding gracefully. She gestured for Carly to sit as well. Uncertain but curious, Carly sat down across from the alien. They stared at each other for long minutes, neither speaking. The silence should have been uncomfortable, but somehow it wasn't. Carly felt as if she was being studied intensely, but not in a threatening way. After what seemed like an hour, Kalish stood up in one fluid motion and moved to the door. It slid open at her approach. She turned back to look at Carly one more time, her skin now a deep purple with flecks of silver. Then she was gone. The next night, at the same time, the door opened again and Kalish entered. This time she carried something. It looked like a fruit of some kind, round with a pearlescent skin. She offered it to Carly. Carly hesitated but took the offering. She was tired of the tasteless nutrient cubes. She sniffed it carefully. It had a sweet floral scent. She took a small bite. The flesh was juicy and surprisingly delicious, reminding her of mangoes mixed with something like cinnamon. Kalish watched her eat her skin, shifting to a pleased-looking orange when Carly smiled in appreciation. "Thank you," Carly said when she finished. Kalish nodded and said, "Thank you," her voice accented but the words recognizable. Carly gasped. "You speak English. Learn." Kalish said, tapping her temple. "Your language interesting." The next few visits followed a similar pattern. Kalish would bring some small food item different each time, and they would practice basic communication. Carly's fear gradually faded, replaced by genuine curiosity about her alien. Visitor Kalish seemed equally fascinated by Carly, often reaching out as if to touch her hair or skin, but always stopping just before contact. By the 10th night, Kalish was able to form basic sentences, and Carly learned that Viridians communicated primarily through color changes and subtle body movements. The spoken language was secondary to them. "Why am I here?" Carly finally asked when she felt Kalish could understand the question. "Study," Kalish replied, her skin rippling with scholarly blue. "Patterns. First contact important. We learn you. You learn us. But you attacked our ship." Carly said, "You killed my friends," Kalish, skin darkened to a somber gray. "No kill, your people sleep. Special places like you. But separate." Carly felt a surge of hope. Her crewmates were alive. They were being held elsewhere on the ship, but why separate us? Kalish made a gesture Carly didn't understand. "Different types need different study. You leader." "Yes," Carly almost laughed. "No, I wasn't the leader. I was just a pilot." This seemed to confuse Kalish, "but you fought longest, most brave, most clever." It was true that Carly had resisted capture longer than the others, using her knowledge of the ship's maintenance tunnels to evade the aliens for nearly an hour after the others were taken. She hadn't thought of it as bravery, Merely survival instinct, Special Kalish said firmly, her skin glowing with a new color. Carly hadn't seen before a soft rose tone with gold flecks. You special study. The visits continued, each night growing longer. Kalish began bringing items from around the ship, strange artifacts and technical devices that she would demonstrate for Carly. She showed her holographic maps of star systems humans had never reached. She taught Carly words in the musical, Viridian language. Carly noticed that Kalish's skin often took on that rose gold color when they were together, especially when their hands would accidentally touch during these demonstrations. When Kalish's skin brushed against Carly's arm, it left a pleasant tingling sensation that lingered for minutes afterward. On the 15th night, Kalish brought a device that projected images of Earth. Carly gasped at seeing her home planet, the blue oceans, the swirling white clouds, the familiar continents. Your world, Kalish said. We study long time before meeting. You knew about us before we found you, Carly asked, surprised. Yes. Kalish confirmed. Many cycles we watch, learn, decide what? If safe to meet, Kalish, said, her skin darkening slightly. Some Viridians think humans too violent, too unpredictable, show weapons. First questions later. Carly couldn't argue with that assessment. Humanity did have a history of responding to the unknown with fear and aggression. I was chosen to study you. Kalish continued. Because I specialize in understanding other beings, I study many species before. Are there many other intelligent species out there? Carly asked. Amazed, Kalish made a gesture that Carly had learned meant affirmative. Many worlds, many peoples, Viridians, very old species. We find new ones. We help grow as... Kalish spoke. Carly realized something was changing in her own perception of her situation. She no longer felt like a prisoner. At least not with Kalish. She looked forward to these nightly visits, the learning, the sharing of ideas, the growing ability to communicate across their differences. She found herself watching the door eagerly as the lights dimmed, marking the beginning of the night cycle. And she noticed how Kalish seemed to linger, longer each visit, how the alien would sometimes just sit in silence beside her, their shoulders almost touching, how Kalish would watch her with those large expressive eyes, her skin shifting through subtle patterns of color that Carly was beginning to recognize as emotions. Something was growing between them, something neither of them had expected, something that transcended the boundaries of species and circumstance, something that made Carly wonder if her capture had been the worst thing to happen to her, or perhaps in some strange way the best. The journey to the trading outpost was both shorter and more harrowing than Carly had anticipated. The small Viridian vessel responded to her thoughts with an eerie precision, almost as if it could read her intentions before she fully formed them. She found herself having to maintain strict mental discipline, focusing only on navigation and avoiding any stray thoughts that might send the ship veering off course. During the first day, she encountered a patrol of unknown origin. 3 ships with angular designs and pulsing red lights. They sent signals to her vessel, signals she could not understand. The ship's translator interpreted them as demands for identification and purpose. Carly activated the stealth field as Kalish had taught her, and the vessel seemed to vanish from the other ship's sensors. She held her breath as they searched the area before finally moving on. She slept fitfully in the small chamber, the unfamiliar hum of the alien technology and the weightlessness of space, making true rest impossible. Her dreams were filled with images of Kalish, her iridescent skin, her gentle touch, the musical sound of her voice. Carly would wake with tears on her cheeks, the ache of separation, sharp and real. On the second day, the ship alerted her to their approach to the trading outpost. She looked through the viewport and gasped at the sight. The outpost was enormous, a sprawling collection of structures that seemed to have been built by dozens of different species. Some sections were sleek and metallic, others organic-looking with curved surfaces and living components. Some rotated to create artificial gravity, while others appeared to use some other technology to achieve the same effect. Ships of all descriptions moved around the outpost, coming and going in a complex dance of arrivals and departures. Carly watched in awe, realizing that this was the universe humanity had been searching for all along, diverse, filled with life and civilizations beyond imagining. The neural interface guided her to a docking area designated for small vessels. She followed the patterns of the other ships, carefully mimicking their approach vectors and speeds. When she successfully docked, the ship powered down its systems, the soft blue glow fading to a dim phosphorescence. Now came the hard part. Carly had no idea what awaited her on the outpost. Kalish had assured her that humans occasionally visited this place as part of deep space exploration missions. But she had no way to contact Earth, no way to identify friendly species, no money or trade goods. She checked the small bag of supplies Kalish had prepared for her. It contained some food cubes, water in a strange container that molded itself to her hand, and most importantly, a small translucent device Kalish had called a universal translator. It would not be perfect, but it should allow basic communication with most species. At the outpost, Carly took a deep breath and activated the airlock. The door slid open, revealing a short tunnel connecting to the outpost proper. The air that rushed in was breathable but had an unfamiliar scent, a mixture of metallic traces and organic compounds. She stepped through the tunnel, her legs shaky after 2 days in the microgravity of the small ship. The docking area was a vast chamber with dozens of berths similar to the one her vessel occupied. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth standard, making her movements feel bouncy and uncoordinated. She saw beings of various shapes and sizes moving about, some humanoid, others utterly alien in form. Some floated in environmental suits while others moved on multiple limbs or glided across the floor. No one paid her much attention as she made her way toward what appeared to be a central hub. Most of the aliens seemed accustomed to seeing different species. A few gave her curious glances, but none approached her. She activated the translator and was immediately bombarded with a cacophony of languages being partially translated, creating a disorienting mix of words and concepts. She focused on finding what Kalish had called the exchange, a place where travelers could trade information, goods, and services. She needed to find a way to contact Earth, or at least find a human ship that might be in the area. The central hub opened into a massive circular space with multiple levels rising above and descending below. Transparent tubes carried beings from one level to another, while floating platforms moved horizontally. Between sections, information displays projected holographic symbols and images that shifted and changed continuously. The scale and complexity were overwhelming. Carly approached what appeared to be an information terminal. A being that resembled a tall insectoid with multiple compound eyes and delicate manipulator limbs operated the console. The translator gave her a rough approximation of the symbols displayed, allowing her to navigate to a directory of services. She searched for any mention of Earth or humans, but found nothing. Then she tried searching for recent arrivals from her sector of space. This yielded several results, including one that made her heart race. A vessel registered as Terran Standard, the official designation for ships from Earth's United Space Program, had docked at the outpost 3 days earlier. The terminal provided a location code for the Terran vessel. Carly memorized it and made her way through the complex network of passages and tubes following directional markers. She had to stop several times to orient herself, the alien architecture confusing to her Earth-trained senses. Eventually, she reached a lower level where smaller vessels were docked in a more secured area. A guard station was positioned at the entrance, staffed by a being with bluish skin and 4 arms. Carly approached cautiously, the translator device held openly in her hand. "I seek the Terran vessel," she said slowly. The device translated her words into a series of clicks and whistles. The guard's upper eyes swiveled toward her while the lower pair remained fixed on a monitoring device. "What purpose?" the guard asked, the translator's rendering of the reply crude but understandable. "I am human," Carly explained. "From Earth, lost, need assistance." The guard's posture changed, becoming more alert. A series of rapid communications followed, the translator struggling to keep up. Finally, the guard gestured toward a communication panel. "Follow protocol. Human representative contact." Carly waited anxiously by the panel, her mind racing with questions. Who were these humans? Would they believe her story? Would they help her return to Earth? The panel activated, and a human face appeared on the screen. A woman, perhaps in her 40s, with dark skin and close, cropped silver hair. Her eyes widened in surprise at the sight of Carly. "Who are you?" she asked. "How did you get here?" "My name is Carly Hunt," Carly said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I was a pilot on the exploration vessel, Star Voyager. We were captured by an alien species called the Viridians. I escaped. I need to get home. I have critical information." The woman studied her for a long moment. "This is Commander Kelly Okafor of the Earthship Constellation. We received no distress signals from any vessel, called Star Voyager. The Viridians blocked all communications," Carly explained desperately. "They have technology far beyond ours. They took our entire crew for study. They have been watching Earth for decades." Commander Okafor frowned. "Wait there," she said. The screen went dark. Carly stood motionless, her heart pounding. What if they didn't believe her? What if they left her here stranded among aliens? What if they thought she was a spy or worse? After what seemed like an eternity, the door to the secure area slid open and Commander Okafor emerged accompanied by 2 security officers. They approached Carly cautiously, hands near their sidearms. "We need to verify your identity." Okafor said, her expression guarded but not hostile. "Please understand, this is standard protocol for unexpected encounters, especially with someone claiming to be from a missing vessel." Carly nodded. "I understand." They escorted her through the security area and onto their ship. The Constellation was a small research vessel. With a crew of 12, Carly learned she was taken to a medical bay where a doctor performed scans to confirm she was human and to check for any alien technology or implants other than the translator device. While the doctor worked, Commander Okafor questioned her about the Star Voyager, its mission, its crew, its last known coordinates. Carly answered everything truthfully, though she was careful about how much she revealed about Kalish and their relationship. "I have evidence," she said finally, reaching for the data crystals Kalish had given her. "The Viridians have been observing Earth for over 50 years. This contains their records." Okafor took the crystals with a skeptical expression. "We will examine these," she said, "but I should warn, your computers may not be compatible with alien technology." Carly felt a surge of frustration. They have to be. The information is too important. While the ship's technical team attempted to access the data crystals, the doctor completed his examination. Commander Okafor returned with news that both relieved and concerned Carly. "According to our records, the Star Voyager was reported missing 3 months ago," she said. "It failed to make a scheduled communication check-in during exploration of the Omega Nebula. A search was conducted, but no trace of the vessel was found. It was presumed lost with all hands." 3 months, Carly whispered, the realization hitting her hard. She had been on the Viridian ship for less than a month. But time dilation, effects or differences in how the Viridians measured time meant that more time had passed on Earth. "My family, do they know I'm alive?" "Not yet," Okafor said gently. "We need to verify your story and the information you have provided. The Constellation is scheduled to return to Earth in 2 weeks. We will take you with us, but until then, I must ask you to remain on board." The return to Earth was not what Carly had imagined during her captivity. She had pictured emotional reunions with family, tearful embraces, the comfort of familiar places. Instead, she found herself isolated, debriefed, and studied almost as thoroughly as she had been by the Viridians. The moment the Constellation docked at the orbital station, Carly was taken into custody by Earth Defense Command. Not as a prisoner, they assured her, but as a valuable asset with critical information. She was transported to a secure facility in a remote location, a complex of white buildings surrounded by high fences and constant surveillance. For weeks, she was questioned by teams of specialists. Military officers wanted to know about Viridian weapons and defenses. Scientists asked about their technology and biology. Intelligence analysts probed for details about their society and intentions. Psychologists evaluated her mental state, searching for signs of manipulation or brainwashing. Carly answered truthfully, but selectively. She provided all the information she thought would help Earth prepare for proper first contact. She emphasized the Viridians' advanced but largely peaceful civilization, their preservation of endangered species, their caution about humanity. She detailed their observation of Earth, their concerns about human aggression, their desire for eventual diplomatic relations. But she held back certain things, the depth of her connection with Kalish, the kiss they had shared, the promises they had made to each other. These were private treasures she kept guarded, afraid they would be analyzed and diminished by cold scientific scrutiny. The data crystals Kalish had given her proved to be technological marvels in themselves. Earth scientists struggled to access their contents even with the most advanced equipment. The information they contained was encrypted in ways that defied conventional understanding. The few fragments they managed to decode confirmed Carly's account of long-term Viridian observation of Earth dating back decades. 6 months after her return, Carly was finally allowed limited contact with her family. They were told she had been rescued from a damaged exploration vessel following a navigational accident. No mention was made of aliens or captivity. The reunion was strained, her parents sensing she was holding back major parts of her story. Her younger sister looked at her with suspicion, knowing the official explanation did not account for the changes. In Carly, a year passed. Carly was relocated to a less restrictive facility where she worked as a consultant to a newly formed agency focused on potential extraterrestrial contact. She helped develop protocols for communication and cultural exchange. Drawing on her experience with the Viridians, she advised on technological adaptations that might bridge the gap between Earth science and the advanced systems she had witnessed. All the while she kept Kalish's communication crystal close, never letting it out of her possession. At night she would hold it, feeling its warmth, wondering if somehow across the vast distances of space, Kalish could sense her thoughts, her longing, her determination. Earth governments debated endlessly about how to approach the Viridian situation. Some wanted to mount a rescue mission to recover the captured crew of the Star Voyager. Others argued for a more cautious approach, preparing defensive systems before any attempt at contact. The information Carly provided about Viridian technology convinced most that direct military action would be disastrous. Earth weapons were simply no match for their capabilities. Meanwhile, efforts to locate the Viridian mothership proved fruitless. The vastness of space, combined with their advanced stealth technology, made them effectively invisible to Earth sensors. The coordinates in Kalish's crystal remained encrypted beyond their ability to decode. 2 years after her return, Carly was approached by Dr. Elaine Bennett, the lead scientist on what had been dubbed the Viridian Project. She was a brilliant woman with kind eyes and a reputation for unorthodox thinking. "I need to ask you something," Carly, Dr. Bennett said during one of their regular meetings, "and I need you to be completely honest." Carly nodded warily. "You held something back in your debriefings, didn't you? About your relationship with the Viridian called Kalish." Carly felt her heart race. "How did you know?" Bennett smiled gently. "It's in how you speak about her. Your voice changes, your expression softens. I've been studying xenopsychology for 20 years. Carly, I'm trained to notice these things." After a moment of hesitation, Carly decided to trust her. There was a connection, she admitted, between Kalish and me, something neither of us expected, something that transcended our differences. "You cared for each other," Bennett said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Carly confirmed. "We still do." Bennett considered this. "Your insights about the Viridians have always been more nuanced, more empathetic than we would expect from someone who is held captive." Now I understand why she paused, studying Carly's face. This connection could be the key to everything. "What do you mean?" "True understanding between species rarely begins with diplomats or politicians," Bennett explained. "It starts with individuals who form bonds, who see past differences to recognize shared values. The history of contact between different cultures on Earth has shown this pattern, repeatedly." "So," Carly said carefully, "what are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that the relationship you formed with Kalish might be exactly what we need to establish peaceful contact with the Viridians." Bennett leaned forward. "That crystal you keep with you, it's more than a communication device, isn't it?" Carly touched the crystal through her shirt. "Yes," she admitted. "It's a beacon. A way for me to signal when Earth is ready for true contact." Bennett nodded thoughtfully. "How would you know when that time has come. Carly had asked herself this question countless times over the past 2 years. The responsibility weighed heavily on her. When humanity would be ready to approach the Viridians not with fear, but with openness. When we could offer them partnership, rather than suspicion. When we could demonstrate that we had moved beyond our violent tendencies. I think Carly said slowly that time might be approaching. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Dr. Bennett assembled a small team of specialists who shared her vision of peaceful contact, scientists who valued knowledge over military advantage, diplomats who understood the importance of cultural exchange, psychologists who specialized in cross-cultural communication. They worked directly, with Carly developing a comprehensive plan for first contact. There were obstacles, of course. Military leaders argued that Earth should approach from a position of strength. Politicians worried about public reaction to the revelation that aliens had been observing humanity for decades. Resource committees balked at the cost of preparing a diplomatic vessel capable of deep space travel, but gradually support for the mission grew. A series of unmanned probes had failed to locate the Viridians, and the family members of the Star Voyager crew continued to pressure governments for action. Whatever approach was taken, it was clear that Carly and her knowledge would be central to it. 3 years to the day after her escape from the Viridian ship, Carly stood on the observation deck of the Earth vessel Horizon. The most advanced ship humanity had ever built, it combined the best of Earth technology with adaptations based on Carly's descriptions of Viridian systems. The crew had been carefully selected 20 specialists in various fields, all chosen not just for their expertise but for their psychological profiles. Their openness to new ideas, their ability to approach the unknown without fear. Each had undergone months of training based on Carly's insights into Viridian culture and biology. Dr. Bennett, now serving as mission commander, joined Carly at the viewport. "We break orbit in 6 hours," she said. "All systems are go." Carly nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and anxiety. The moment she had worked toward for 3 years had finally arrived. "Are you ready to activate it?" Bennett asked gently. Carly touched the crystal hanging around her neck. "Yes," she said. "I think I am." They moved to a specially designed chamber in the center of the ship. Equipment had been built to amplify and broadcast whatever signal the crystal might emit. Though Earth scientists still did not fully understand its technology, Carly stood in the center of the chamber, the crystal held in both hands. She closed her eyes and thought of Kalish. The color of her skin when she was happy, the musical sound of her voice, the gentle touch of her hand, the connection that had formed between them against all odds. She felt the crystal warm in her hands, its subtle pulsing matching the rhythm of her heartbeat. Then a glow began to emanate from within it, a soft rose-gold light that spread outward, filling the chamber. The ship's sensors detected an energy signature unlike anything they had recorded, before a signal that seemed to bypass conventional communication channels, reaching outward through subspace. "Now we wait," Bennett said. The Horizon traveled to the coordinates where the Star Voyager had disappeared 3 years earlier. Near the Omega Nebula, they established orbit around a small planetoid and continued broadcasting the crystal signal. At night, Carly would stand at the viewport looking out at the stars, wondering if Kalish was looking back. 2 weeks passed with no response. The crew maintained their optimism, but Carly could sense their growing uncertainty. Had too much time passed? Had something happened to Kalish? Was the crystal working as intended? Then on the 15th day, alarms sounded throughout the ship. A massive object had appeared on their sensors, seemingly from nowhere. It was the Viridian mothership, its iridescent hull shimmering against the backdrop of stars.